This is Marvin Baker. He is a vendor at North Prairie Farmers Market. He is the owner and operator of North Star Farms in Carpio, one of the oldest organic farms in North Dakota, I believe. A longstanding member of North Dakota Farmers Market and Growers Association. And he's also the editor of a local newspaper, the Kenmare News. So I'm going to turn the floor over to you, Marvin.
Okay, got a little bit of time here, so I want to start out with something that happened last night that was really weird. I don't think I would have believed it had I not seen it, but I'm going to tell you about it. I was out weeding beets, and I saw something in my peripheral vision, so I looked over to my left, and I saw a beaver. A beaver was taking peas. It had a pea plant on its back, and it had 2 pea plants in its mouth, and it was waddling back to the river. And I took pictures of it because I didn't think anybody would ever believe it. I wouldn't have believed it, but they're cell phone photos, so they're not very good, but it still gives you the idea that that it happened. So, and this is one of the reasons I like doing what I do, because I sometimes see stuff like that that's really unusual. So,
who knew?
Yeah. Stephanie wanted me to talk about being a vendor and an organizer as part of this presentation. So I'll start with being an organizer, because that goes back to August of 2007. We decided that Minot could use a second farmers market. And so it was an experiment. We did some homework, talked to downtown association people. We talked to people in the street. We talked to other vendors, and everyone thought it was a good idea. So we thought we'd try it. We started out with 4 vendors that first year. So yes, it was an experiment. We weren't sure it was going to succeed at that point, because 4 vendors, we actually had more vendors here in Carpio, which is a town of 170 people. So, but then the next year, things started to pick up, and we got more vendors, and we started to see more customers. And one of the things I noticed back then even was that we had, most of our customers were either elderly or college age people. Thought that was unique at that time. But we put that market together and we solidified it. I was market manager, my wife was market manager. We spent several years doing that until someone else, we got some young people to take over now. So we've just kind of faded into the background. We're just vendors now, but it was a lot of work. It was a lot of, there were a lot of different tangents that we had to go on to make that happen. But I'll tell you what, I would do it all over again if I had to, because now that market is quite successful, and it's really good to see that. You know, it took 10 years, but we're rolling now, so we're pretty happy about it. Now, as a vendor, we started that in 2005 here in Carpio, because people here in the community, it's a small town, elderly people, so they can't get out and dig in a garden like somebody younger can. So we decided that we would provide produce for the community, and they just loved it. And it just grew from there. And we were here in 2005, and then my wife took over in '06 because I had to go to, I got my National Guard unit got mobilized. So I was gone in 2006, but came back in '07. And then we had markets here in Carpio and in Minot in 2007. And then the Carpio market faded out. That was 2007 was the last year of it. And we put all our energy into North Prairie and Minot. There were a couple of years I joined the Kenmare market, but honestly, I can earn more money in a day in Minot than I can in a season in Kenmare. And I've said that to the Chamber of Commerce people. So I'm not sure what they would do about it, but it's really their issue. Because I tried. It didn't work. So we did a survey, and this kind of falls into this outline of news releases and newspapers and such. I think it was 2016. We did a survey of the community of Kenmare. What do you want? What would it take to bring more people to this market? More vendors. Over and over again, the survey response is more vendors. So I enlisted a number of vendors from North Prairie to go up to Kenmare, and we had instantly 7, sometimes 8 vendors there. Didn't make a bit of difference. So, so in my mind, that one of the 3 was probably a failure, in my opinion. But the other 2 did well. Carpio did okay, but Minot's doing quite well. So now, writing press releases. Have you guys done that now? No, but you got the criteria from Stephanie about how to do it and so on. Okay, I see a couple people nodding their heads. When it comes to writing news releases, there's some do's and don'ts. And I read your stuff this morning, Stephanie, and you kind of nailed it with that inverted pyramid. Do you guys know what that is? An inverted pyramid.
You might have to a refresher would be good. I think it was in the reading, but it's always good to review.
Okay, an inverted pyramid is an upside down pyramid. It's what you're trying to do is put all the critical information in that first paragraph. Now, I don't mean cram a lot of stuff into that first paragraph. In the newspaper business, if you have more than 25 words in your lead, it's probably too long. 25 words or more. So you want to kind of compact it down to 25 words or less to make it concise. Compact, concise, so the reader doesn't get bored trying to read it all. Short sentences, 25 words. Who, what, where, when, how, and why. The most important information goes in, and then as it goes through the article, it becomes less and less important. And you can put the stuff that really isn't totally important at the back or the bottom of it, because oftentimes editors are going to cut stuff because it has to fit certain parameters depending on the amount of advertising that the newspaper has that week or that day. Now, when Stephanie and I were talking, I mentioned one thing that we would never accept. If somebody turned in a news release that had all capital letters, it'd go right in the garbage, because I wouldn't even read it. Even if a flying saucer landed in your backyard, I'd just throw it in the trash, because those things are so difficult to read. So solid caps, don't do it. Run-on sentences, incomplete sentences, words spelled wrong. Those are all reasons not to publish it. But if you have proper grammar, if you have the words spelled right, if you have dates correct, there's a pretty good chance it's going to get published. At least in the weeklies. The dailies, that's a different animal. And it depends on what daily you're talking about. But dailies are a little more difficult because they have a lot more news to deal with from a lot of different sources. So
Marvin,
then when you get, yep, go ahead.
would you like me to share the sample press release that I
Yes.
wrote? And then you can comment or critique. You don't have to, it's just you have something there to address. Are you able to see? Nope, that's the wrong one. This one.
Now, do you see the formatting for immediate release, person's name, person's contact information, where it's coming from? That kind of stuff is important because if I get a news release, I want to know where it's coming from and who sent it, because I might want to talk to that person. There might be something in there. It could be a bigger story. And if it is, then I got a phone number I can call and find out what's going on. Quotes are always good. Quotes will always make an article more exciting, more interesting, more exciting, because that way you put the people factor into it. When I'm writing articles for the newspaper, I try to quote people as much as possible because it really helps the readers, because they know that's what this person said, not what Marv said when he wrote it. So it really adds to any article that is written. One thing I would say is regarding this news release, in the newspaper business, we like to keep paragraphs real short. If you read a book and you read a newspaper, take note of the length of the paragraphs, and you'll notice quite a difference. Newspapers, we like to keep them short to keep the reader interested, because there's so many different topics in a newspaper. A book is just one topic that is long, and you choose to read it. A newspaper's got all these different things, the baseball team, the weather, the dog that got out, all kinds of different things. So you want to keep them short and concise. So that way you keep those readers interested throughout that inverted pyramid. Okay.
So these paragraphs could be shorter?
They could be shorter, yep. I'm not exactly sure how. Well, I can see a couple of things you could do, like with weekly training and tools. I could start a new one. If your sentences are, you have several markets in that one paragraph, so you can't really break it up until it's the end of a sentence. So that's probably your best bet right there. And then on that next one, Farms Executive Director would become another paragraph. Right there. It's just a matter of keeping them shorter.
Mhm.
That's all there is to it. It's all, and the title dateline is good. A lot of people use that, and some don't. I guess there's two schools of thought on that. Personally, I like it. However, my boss now doesn't like it so much. So it just depends on the newspaper, I guess, regarding that.
Okay.
Does anybody have any questions as we're going along? None? So either I'm explaining this quite well or you're totally lost. One or the other.
So you all created marketing plans. Did you include your local newspapers or local radio stations in those marketing plans? Like contact information? Those would be ones that you could send press releases to. And I guess part of my, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Marvin. Part of my reasoning behind sending press releases is that I could, I can purchase an ad in that paper, or I can send them a press release on a topic that might interest them. And if they choose to write an article about my topic, that's free advertising for
Yes.
the organization.
Now, let me explain a couple things about that. The difference between news release and advertising. If you're soliciting something, in other words, if you're trying to sell something, it probably isn't going to get used as a news release unless it's a charitable organization like Shriners or Lions Club or something like that. That should be an ad. But now, if you have something unusual or unique or interesting, by all means, plug it into a news release and send it to your local newspaper, your local radio or TV station, because you might be surprised at what comes out of it. One of the things that I did when we started out back in 2005, being a newspaper editor for years, I kind of thought, why not use my experience to market North Star? And so that's what I did. And I thought, well, in the beginning, we're kind of the, we're the media darling the first year out. But that gets old after a while. The media, they kind of catch on to that pretty fast. So from that point forward, I had to do something to keep that interest, keep the media interested. So I started growing unusual things every year. And we've had a lot of favorable press coverage across the state of North Dakota. And it's really, and when Stephanie says free advertising, now imagine what a full page, full color ad would cost in the Grand Forks Herald or the Fargo Forum. It's a lot of money. I'm guessing probably about $1,500 or more.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we've had a full page, full color in the Grand Forks Herald, and it was a newspaper article about me growing peanuts, because it's just, you can't grow peanuts in North Dakota, but I've been doing it for 15 years. So the Herald picked that up and they ran with it because it was unusual. That kind of stuff works. If you really want to hit the media up, that stuff works. So if you can find something at your market that's interesting, unusual, or odd, go for it. And write something, send it in. You just never know. Or if let me put this another way. If there's a vendor at your market, and let's see, I heard Red River, I heard Grand Forks, I heard Minot Farmers, I heard, Spirit Lake. Am I missing anybody? Quinn at our market. Anyway, North Prairie has vendors from a good part of North Dakota. Oh, Bismarck, I'm sorry, forgot about that. We have vendors from all over the place. So if you find a vendor in your market from a small town that has a newspaper, talk to them, find out something interesting, put something together and send it in. You never know. And the newspapers, at least the weeklies again, are very perceptive to photographs. Mm-hmm. So if you can write something and take photographs to accompany it, there's a pretty good chance it'll get published.
Can I ask a question, Marv?
Yes.
This is Lorinda's question. She has put together a radio announcement for Spirit Lake Mobile Market.
Okay.
And she was looking for feedback and asking if this qualifies as a press release.
And this is what I'm looking at right now.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it does. There's a couple of small things that, the radio and newspaper are different. And I'm geared toward newspaper. So I see a couple of things that are, a little out of the ordinary for a newspaper, but they certainly fly at a radio station. So, so you're definitely in the ballpark there.
Do you think, does the inverted pyramid still apply for radio? Should she have date and time?
Well, it should. It really should. And that's kind of what I was roundabout getting at. Because radio spots are pretty short. They're typically going to be 10, 15 seconds, 20, 25 seconds. You don't have real long radio spots. So you want to get that critical information up as high as you can get it. So that think about yourself being a listener and what you'd want to hear. You're tuning through the radio dial and you hear somebody talking about the Spirit Lake Farmers Market. What else are you trying to find out about that market? Think about that, because that's really how radio works. They're going to announce it. It's more immediate than a newspaper, and it has less shelf life. So you want to get all the bang for your buck as high as you can get it, because that's what the listener is going to want to hear. And then, because if it isn't interesting to them, they're probably going to turn a dial to Cruiser 102 or something. So, you know what I mean? Lorinda, you know what I mean?
think she's nodding her head.
Oh, sorry, I was on mute there.
I'm sorry, I can't hear.
Lorinda, I think you're having audio problems. Could you type in the chat?
Do you hear me?
Yes, now we can.
Okay. I felt like I wanted to catch their attention with like what it was before I started with the dates, because the dates are confusing.
Okay. Okay.
But yeah, I get what you're saying. That would make sense for.
Yeah, just listen to an ad on the radio and see what you hear. What you hear and what you want to hear. And that's pretty much what you should write for a radio spot.
Okay. All right, thank you for that feedback.
Sure.
Lorinda, did you get a PSA spot, or did the college purchase some radio ads?
The college already has like a ongoing spot with the radio station, so that's what we used.
Perfect. Those are great. The college here in Bottineau has a similar relationship, and it's been a great way to get the word out about various programs.
Yeah, Heidi and I went there one morning, and we even did an interview about the market, and she asked me questions about my internship. It was pretty good.
Awesome.
That kind of leads into a question I had, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Who is the most appropriate contact if you don't have a long-standing relationship with the media that you're attempting to connect with, or if the long-standing connection that you had is no longer there? With the way that things are, with the Herald kind of going different directions, not really positive on how it's going to be continuing in the future, but like being able to connect with the right person, I know makes a difference.
It does. And yes, I understand what the Herald's been going through. There's probably still any number of people that you could contact. The best would probably be a managing editor or a night editor. Would probably be the best people. And beyond that, a reporter you might be familiar with. Does that make sense?
It does.
I don't remember the staff there anymore. It's been a while since I've read the Herald, but
and I feel like there's a longer term connection that does exist. But say if you're cold calling, or if you're sending to these smaller markets that are where you have vendors that come from, not knowing who to talk to, being able to know that these two maybe just the right people to communicate with in the first place.
Well, one of the things you can do is go on the North Dakota Newspaper Association website and find that newspaper. For instance, if you're at the market in Grand Forks, maybe you got somebody from Grafton, so you call up the Grafton Record or the Walsh County Record now, and it'll list certain people. Oh, good Lord. It'll list certain people, and so that's who you want to contact. And most likely it will be the editor of that newspaper. unless it's a daily, and then you'll see a whole bunch of people. But typically in a weekly, it's going to be an editor and a reporter, maybe a sports reporter. So the list is is much shorter than at a daily. That's the easiest way to find somebody. I do that a lot. If I'm trying to contact somebody out of state, like I oftentimes will contact the newspaper association in Wyoming or Montana or Minnesota, Nebraska. It's easy. Just go on their website and just, okay, I need to find somebody in Chadron, Nebraska. So I go to the newspaper in Chadron, Nebraska and call them or email them and almost always get a response. Stephanie, should I keep rolling?
You sure can. It's
Okay.
6:32, so you got over about 10 more minutes.
There's a couple other things that I should probably touch on here. One of the things is how have food systems changed? Well, since I got into this business, they've changed a lot. It used to be one of those things where, how can I put this in a nutshell? Farmers markets they existed, and that was about it. They existed. There were 14 of them in the state in 2005. Last time I checked, there were 56. Well, as time's gone on, people have become more interested in locally grown. They've become more interested in organic. They've become more interested in fresh as can be. And so that has really helped farmers markets a lot. And then as a grower and as a vendor, it used to be that I had a heck of a time finding seed varieties. It was a challenge. It was difficult at times. Well, now I can find about anything I want. And I'm talking about organic seed varieties. If Stephanie hadn't mentioned it, I've been organic since 2006. So in the beginning, it was very difficult to find those varieties. But now, and when we started that, when we became certified organic in October of 06, it was a novelty. You know, it was kind of like Heinz ketchup or Nike. You know, it was just kind of, you know, a name, we got it, okay, big deal. Well, now people seek us out. So it's really changed that way as well. Because back then, you know, we were just the leftover hippies from Haight-Ashbury, you know, but now everything's modern. We get everything we need. We know what we're doing. We have a strong customer base. They keep coming back year after year. So it's really changed that way. And another thing I might mention about that is when I should go back to 2005 again. A lot of things happened in 2005. In March of 05, I got invited as a news reporter to go to Anaheim to Natural Products Expo West. And the Minot Daily didn't want to send me, but the people who wanted me to go were pretty adamant. They said they'd pay for it and all this and that. And finally, the Daily said, okay, you can go. But I had to write an article every day, which was, okay, 4 days, and big deal. Well, I went out to Anaheim, and I was amazed. There were 80,000 people at that expo, and it was just amazing how people were just gaga over organic, okay? So this is March of 2005. Well, then in 2006, I got mobilized in February of 06, and I got sent to MacDill Air Force Base in Tampa, Florida. So here I am in Tampa, Okay, it's a weekend, I'm off, I can go tool around the city, do whatever I want. I see exactly the same thing in Tampa in 2006 that I saw in Anaheim in 2005. And 2006 was also the same year that we got certified. So at that point, I knew we were on the right track. That it was just going to take, it's North Dakota. It's going to take longer than the East or West Coast, but it's certainly arrived now, because we are. I wish there were 3 of me or 4, because we could keep that busy. So that's how things have changed here. But then if you're not organic, though, there's still that locally grown aspect. There's still that fresh, get it to the market within 24 hours aspect that people are really looking for. It's really going to help sell product. In my case, it's produce. Obviously, there's people who bake bread and cupcakes and all kinds of stuff. We have a vendor at our market that sells frozen beef. So, so the food systems have changed a great deal, and I could probably go into a lot more detail about it, but I don't think we have time because I have another meeting at 7. So maybe for another day. I wish we had more time, Stephanie, but now as far as experience as a founder of a market, I just did what needed to be done for this community of Minot. The demand was there. I mean, I could see it. Maybe in 2005, I was the only one who could see it, because Ward County Extension said, oh, no, that's not going to work. But even then I thought, there's enough people in this city that, we could do this. And so, I don't know, it was just something that had to be done. Just like here in Carpio, it was a little town. People came to us and said, you got peas, you got potatoes, you got onions. Well, we did. And so maybe we should set up a market. And so we did. And it became pretty successful for 3 years. And we did the same in Newtown. The market in Newtown was never part of the North Dakota Farmers Market and Growers Association, but it was an independent market that I participated in, and it was quite successful. But I was just a vendor there. I wasn't making the decisions. I was just kind of a vendor and helping, promote that market. So it worked out well. Now, you wanted me also to talk a little bit about unique crops. Okay, I mentioned earlier that this is one of the things that drove the media to us for years. I mean, we grew peanuts. We grew okra. We had variety trials. And it seemed like each year, I think there were 5 or 6 years consecutive that we had variety trials. And every year we got media coverage. And it was North Star doing a variety trial. It was North Star doing a variety trial. You can't imagine what that does for your business and your marketing when you get your name out there over and over again. And as I mentioned before, if you can only promote yourself or your name so much, but when you got something weird, like this beaver I told you about at the top of the presentation, I'm kind of thinking that's going to go somewhere, because that's pretty weird. And I saw it and I took a picture of it. I mean, if I wouldn't have photographed it, maybe not so much, but because I got pictures, I think it's probably going to be in the newspaper pretty soon. So when you can, those kind of things really keep bringing that media to you. I've tried sugarcane, I've tried rice, I've tried I've tried pineapple. You know, there's a whole bunch of different things that I've tried. Some have failed. Pineapple, of course, failed. Sugarcane grew, but the raccoons got it. But I'm just going to keep doing that stuff. This year I'm growing rice. I've got rice out there. You know, and that's supposed to be grown in Arkansas. Well, I grow cotton too. I've been growing cotton for 8 years now, and people think they don't know what to think, but I'm growing it every year. The secret is, I mean, I found a 120-day variety. We have 120 frost-free days every year, almost every year. So why not? It works. It grows. It blossoms. It produces bolls. So yes, Stephanie, I am a cotton picker.
And part of why I asked you about that, most of our interns also are interested in production. Felicity in particular is a grad student at NDSU in plant science.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
I've heard that she knows a lot about potatoes.
Really?
Yeah, I work in the breeding program, so we work to try and make new potato varieties.
Okay, well, you might be interested to know that I really enjoy the Red Norland. That's an NDSU variety.
Yeah, it's a good one.
It is. Used it many years and still use it, so yeah. One other thing I want to mention, and I don't know how you feel about this, Stephanie, but I'm just going to say it anyway. I need to put in a plug here. You know, we're talking about all these different things, and I apologize, I'm kind of off on tangents here, but I had a list of things to talk about through the time I've had, and I needed to kind of spit things out and get through the agenda. But if you really want to get into detail about this, in February of 2018, I released a book called Against the Grain. And it's about local food systems on the northern Great Plains. It's about the rise in farmers markets. It's about the rise in organic vegetable production. If you're interested, it's called Against the Grain, and it's available at Barnes & Noble, Apple Bookstore, Kobo, and Angus and Robertson, and Baker and Taylor. So it's pretty easy to find. It's, I think, I don't know, $5 or $6, so it's not very expensive, but that's one that I put out a couple of years ago. And it has a lot of detail about stuff like that in it. It's a couple of 100 pages, and the title came from growing produce in barley country. Against the grain being barley. So I just wanted to put that in there, Stephanie. I mean, it's not really a sales pitch, but if people want to go into more detail about, you know, learn more things in detail, then that might be a good option.
No, that's great. I don't have a problem with that at all. I'm looking up the link for everybody. Here we go. Wait, oh. Why does it say Norman Baker?
Norman? It better not.
The page lists you as Marvin Baker, but on this link, Against the Grain, Norman Baker.
No, that's incorrect. That'll never make it as a news release. Anyway, that's something else to consider.
Well, are there any last questions for Marv?
Anybody?
And if you think of something later, I'm happy to put you in touch.
Or give them my email and I'll, be glad to answer questions by email as well.
I think it's mbaker@northstar.
NorthstarOrganic.com. I do that a lot with a lot of different people.
Definitely. Yeah, Marv is a wealth of knowledge and one of my favorite farmers in the state. And I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us tonight.
You're welcome. It's all trial and error. We made a lot of mistakes. Some of those mistakes cost us a lot of money, but over the years, you learn from those mistakes and you become more efficient and more cost conscious. And like I said, it took 10 years, but it literally did take 10 years. But over those years, you become more efficient and better at what you're doing. And so, yeah, I've learned a lot over the years. But it never stops. I'm learning things every day. I'm like this beaver. I mean, that's got me thinking like I'm going to do research and all this and that. I did not know they like peas. So there's always something to learn about.
What other vegetables do they like?
I hope none.
Well, I'm going to switch over to our review session. And I sure appreciate you taking the time tonight, Marvin.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure.
And yeah, so you're welcome to hang around for review, or if you need to get to your meeting, we understand that too.
Yeah, I'd like to chime in about 5 minutes early, so I better sign off. If anybody, just an invitation, if anybody ever wants to come out and check it out, what we do here, please do. I'd be glad to have you. We take tours often. Last year we had I think we had 9 county agents out here on a tour. So if you like, just give me a heads up. Be glad to show you around. Thanks everybody for listening, and I hope you have a good and successful season.
Thank you.
All right. Good night.
Great. And I highly recommend if you're in the Minot area, Marv's got a great farm in Carpio in a crook of the Des Lacs River. So it's a really scenic location as well. So I just wanted to spend the last 10 minutes discussing some review and a few things that were in your email. First of all, I just wanted to do a quick review of last week. So last week you had Erica Kale talking about social media plans. Did any of you take a shot at creating a social media plan and calendar? Looks like I see some nods.
Yeah, we use a scheduling app. So I have added a few to there, but yeah, there's me and 2 other people who kind of work on the social media. So we use that.
That makes a lot of sense. FARRMS is in a similar situation where there's multiple people that work on social media. So in that case, I started with Erica's template, and then I'll probably have to move some of the information over into a scheduling app. I
I'm
did,
eager to, because there's another person working at our farmers market. I'm trying to figure out a way that we can use Airtable, since it's part of the Google Suite now, or you can get it as part of the Google Suite, where we can break down tasks and things like that. That might be helpful if anybody does use that app at all or program. But we are getting ready to figure out how we're going to go forward on that with the template that was provided. That was really awesome. I'm super happy about that. And the way she broke things down, that was really cool.
definitely. And we are starting to use Airtable at FARRMS as well. So happy to compare notes if you ever need to.